When Range Rover presents the concept study of the Evoque about 10 years ago, that really wows everybody in the market. And then when the production car comes up, that really became a bestseller of the brand. And now they do present the brand new Evoque. What is new about the car? What else does it offer? And how it drives? Let's find out now. There's a whole variety of different petrol and diesel engines available for the new Evoque. The diesel engines, they deliver a power range between 150 up to 240 horsepower. Important here is the 150 horsepower version comes as standard with a 6-speed manual gearbox and front-wheel drive. The 240 and the 180 horsepower version, they do come as standard with a 9-speed automatic gearbox as well as all-wheel drive, and both of them are so-called mild hybrid systems, which means they do have an electric engine on board as well. With the petrol versions, you can choose between 200, 250 and 300 horsepower, which is the new top version, and all of them come as standard with all-wheel drive. All of them deliver as standard the 9-speed automatic gearbox, and all of them are mild hybrids as well. Our test car features the top diesel, which is a 4-cylinder 2-liter engine, and that offers 240 horsepower and 500 newton meters of maximum torque. And it's combined as standard with a 9-speed automatic gearbox and all-wheel drive. And the first thing that really impressed me with that car is the engine is very quiet. So the whole car is very quiet, very nicely insulated. And you only hear this diesel engine or diesel noise at very high revs. So something that really is comfortable. But what I really do like with the car is you can drive it quite dynamic. The 9-speed gearbox, that takes a bit to pick up the new gear when you have loads of turns, so that takes a bit, and this is the same even in sports mode. But if you use the pedals at the steering wheel to choose the gear up front, you really can drive this Evoque on road, very sporty, very dynamic, and then the car not only looks beautiful, it drives absolutely perfect. The dimensions of the new Evoque are very similar to the predecessor, and we're still talking about a car which is nearly 2 meters wide. But we have some changes because they did change the standard equipment level. So now the Range Rover Evoque features as standard LED headlights. But of course you can order extras. For instance, if you want, you can have matrix LED as well. When you look at the rest of the car, we do have the so-called black pack, and that really gives us the extra sporty kick because of all the black parts that really gives the car a more sporty look. And we do find this big Range Rover sign here at the hood. When you look at the whole shape of the car, it is a lot more seamless than its predecessors, and that gives the car the more modern look. What really impresses me with the Evoque is the drive because of the suspension and the steering. The steering is very precise, very nicely made, and the car always goes the direction you want it to go. And the suspension is very, very comfortable, but stiff enough to put the car on the road. You have no rolling, nothing like it. And I have to mention, we do have the so-called active driveline on board, which gives you torque vectoring, and that, of course, gives you the extra power when it comes to the curves and to the turns. But the car, you can really drive the car very, very sporty, and this is underlined by the seating position, because you have these high shoulders here and you sit deep inside of the car. So from time to time, you really completely forget that you drive in a car which is about 21 centimeters above ground. I will never forget when I saw the first Range Rover Evoque a couple of years ago. I was really impressed by the design because we have this very long hood and this, let's say, not existing tail. But when you look at the new one, what really catches your eyes at first are these big rims, because the Range Rover Evoque comes as standard with 17-inch alloys. Our S-Line car comes as standard with 18-inch, but this car stands on 21-inch. Unfortunately, they don't come cheap because they're going to cost you a bit less than 3,000 euros in our trim level, but I think it's absolutely worth the money. Something really new with the Range Rover Evoque, aside of the refreshed design with a lot less lines, are these door handles here, because these are the same as we already know from the Range Rover Velar, so they disappear while driving. And when we then look at the whole shape of the car, which really makes the Evoque for me, is we have this extremely high shoulder line that rises up to the rear, and we have this roof line which drops dramatically to the rear. And this is then underlined by these black side windows and in our case by the black roof. And that really gives the car the push forward, and I think that makes this Evoque not only unique, it also makes the car look extremely sporty. When you buy a Land Rover, you do expect very nice materials and precise craftsmanship, and this is no different with the Evoque. You do not find any plastic at all inside of the car. You find glass, you find leather, you find soft touch materials, or you find environmentally friendly fabric surfaces, like with the seats in our car, because we do have the so-called eucalyptus trim line in here, and that is something that really is environmentally friendly. And we do have this very nice soft leather here, the steering wheel, soft leather here at the gear shift knob, and this really is something that gives you the feeling to drive a real Land Rover. The Evoque is not only fresh from the outside, it's also new and fresh and modern from the inside. When we talk about the modern technology in here, you do find with our test car the optional full digital cockpit, which really is very nice to look at, and you can choose the way you want it to present the information. You can have an optional head-up display in the car, and we do have in our test car these two optional touchscreen displays here, both 10-inch, and the top one is for the infotainment, for the phone and the sat-nav, and the lower one now is for working with the climate control and doing the setup of the car as well, so you can choose different drivers and all the stuff down here with the touchscreen as well, and that really works very nicely and precise, and it really lifts the look of the interior to a more modern level. And when you then look at the rest, that you will find things like, of course, Bluetooth, Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. You do find USB ports to connect your mobile devices. So the whole environment of that car now gives you the idea of really being in a very modern car of the 21st century. The wheelbase of the Evoque has increased by about 2 centimeters, which doesn't sound like a lot, but like with the predecessor, the driver and co-driver will find more than sufficient space. Even me, I'm a tall person, nearly 2 meters high. I do sit comfortably in the car, and as you can see, I still have head space left, and that even though we do have this big glass roof mounted. But the reason for that is that that pillar up here is very at the edge of the car, and that gives me the space I want. But when you then talk about the rear seats, the space for your knees has really increased a lot in that car now, and this is because of the wheelbase, and so now you can sit in that car comfortably even on the rear seats. Typical for the Evoque's tail is not only this very solid and high stand of the car, it's also this line here, very high, and this in combination with this very small window and this big spoiler up here gives the car the absolutely unique impression from the rear. But the thing is, this is causing that you don't have a very nice rear view when you sit in the car, but there is a solution now. This is up here. There is a camera mounted, and this is the base for an optional feature which is called Clearsight Smart View, which is nothing different than a completely digital rear view mirror. So you can then choose if you want the standard mirror or if you want that one, and that gives you on one hand a lot better angle to look to the rear of the car, and the other thing is if you have luggage or people in the car, you will even see through them. And when we talk about luggage, let's have a closer look in the boot. Even though the Evoque has this sporty design, it still features quite a reasonable boot size. So the car offers, with the rear seats up, 591 litres of boot capacity. When you fold down the rear seats, that increases up to 1,383 litres.
There are two other new features. The new Evoque now shows even slimmer taillights in LED technology. In addition, it is no longer showing the typical claddings over the wheel arches like its predecessor did to underline the SUV look.
A while ago, Land Rover announced a new system which they called the transparent bonnet, and now you can have this in the new Evoque. It's called Clearsight Ground View, and this is nothing different than a camera-based system which gives you the opportunity to see your wheels on the ground, the front wheels, and this is displayed here at the top screen. And this is very nice if you drive off-road, because you can see if there are any obstacles in your way, and very important, close to your wheels. So now after we put some mud on our Evoque in the off-road parkour, I can tell you that car is capable of a lot more than just being the car for your wife to bring your kids into school or the kindergarten. Because that Evoque offers everything you expect from a Range Rover or Land Rover, which is more than 21 centimeters of ground clearance. You can drive through water up to 60 centimeters of depth, and the car works easily there. And very important is, we just used it on a quite hard track, and that car always does a very nice job. If it's muddy, if it's slippery, if it's stony, it doesn't care. It is a real Range Rover, and that is something we can have real great fun with off-road. The Evoque now comes as standard with a cruise control, with lane assist, and with an emergency braking system. But of course you can have a lot more driver assistance and safety systems on board. So for instance, you can configure something like a 360 camera, you can have a rear cross traffic alert, and you can have, of course, traffic sign recognition and many more if you want.
The Jaguar E-Pace is one of the true rivals of the Range Rover Evoque and comes from its own stable. With a starting price of €35,625, the Jaguar is only a little cheaper than the Evoque, but still based on its predecessor. Another important opponent while catching customers is the Volvo XC40. The starting price here is €32,450. But instead of the two British with a 150 horsepower 2-liter diesel, the Volvo starts with a 1.5-liter petrol engine with 163 horsepower. Competitors can't keep up completely when it comes to the storage space. The Volvo XC40 offers 460 to 1,336 liters, and the E-Pace 577 to a maximum of 1,235 liters of boot capacity. Regarding to the basic equipment, the vehicles are equal. The Range Rover as well as the Jaguar and the Volvo are front-wheel powered and feature 17-inch alloy wheels and LED headlights as standard.
That was my test drive with the new Range Rover Evoque. The Evoque starts in Germany at a base price of €37,350, but I would say you better buy the S version which we're driving, because that makes more sense regarding to the equipment. That just costs you €5,000 extra. The good thing with the new Range Rover is it even looks better than the old Evoque, it drives better than the old Evoque, and it's a lot more modern. And what is new about the car? I can tell you 99% of the car is new. We only found one part of the predecessor, which are the door hinges, but I think we may live with that.